Okay, I think we can start. So today is September 13th. We can do 3 bows to the Buddha. 1, 2, 3. And we'll start also with the salutation. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, so we have been reading the Alagadupama Sutta, the discourse on the simile of the snake. And now we're coming to the end of the sutta. And so we're at paragraph number or section number 248. And we have somebody who would like to be the responder today. Any volunteers? Kamal, are you there?
Yes, Bante.
Okay, so you could be the responder.
Yes, sure, Bante.
Okay, so we're starting now, 248. Evang swakato bhikkhave
Evan swakhato bhikkhave
maya dhammo
maya dhammo
uttano vivatto pakasito
uttano vivato pakasitu
china pilotiko.
chen pilotiku.
Yeah, chinna pilotiko, that's correct, yeah. Okay, so the passage begins with the Buddha saying that this Dhamma is well proclaimed, that swakata, well expounded, well taught, Maya by me, and it's uttano. Like one of the meanings of uttano, sometimes it could mean simple, shallow, but also it could take on the meaning of being clear, which seems to be the sense here. It's vivato, opened up, as opposed to, I think it's patichanno would be concealed or hidden. Pakasito, it's revealed, explicated, not revealed in the sense like they say, the Christians say the Bible is a revealed religion or revealed scripture, but it means that he's illuminated it, thoroughly illuminated. And then we have this rather rare, very rare expression, chinna pilotiko. I'm just trying to find the translation that I had. Yeah, the way it was translated in the middle length discourses, the Dhamma well proclaimed by me thus is clear. So for uttano, clear, then vivato, open, for pakasito, evident, maybe not perfect. And then we have this expression, China Pilotiko. And to get the meaning of this, I took the explanation that comes from the Majjhima Nikaya commentary. So first it explains the meaning of pilotika. So it says pilotika is a piece of cloth, a cloth which is chinang is cut and binang is torn, and tatta tatta sibitang, it's sewn here and there, ganti katang, knotted together. Jinang is old. So it's an old, pilotika is an old cloth which has been cut and torn, and it's been sewn together and tied together here and there. And then he says of the Dhamma, there is none of that for this, but that which is here 8 yards, 9 yards, unbroken or undamaged cloth is said to be China Pilotica. So there's no patchwork, no sewing, no stitches, no knots to tie it together. And then it says this Dhamma is just like that. For here there is nothing that has to be, nothing sort of cut, torn, which has to be sewn together and stitched together by way of sort of deceptiveness and so forth. Okay, so I think I followed Venerable Nyanamoli in rendering it free of patchwork. Okay, so this Dhamma has been well expounded by me, and it is open, it is clear, open, revealed, free of patchwork. And now he's going to repeat the same statement and then go through the different classes of noble disciples. So he starts going from the highest down to the lower levels. So he says, he repeats the same thing just in the locative case. Evang swakate bhikkhave maya dhamme.
Evan swakhate bhikkhave maya dhamme
Uttane vivate pakasite.
uttane vivate pakasite
Chinna pilotike.
chin pilotike
Yete bhikkhu arahanto kinasava.
yete bhikkhu arhanto khinasava
Vusitavanto.
vasitvanto
Katakaraniya.
Katakaraniya
Ohita bara.
ohit bhara
Anupata sadatta.
anupat sadattha
Parikina bhava sangyojana.
parikhin bhav sanyojana
Samadanya vimutta.
samadanya vimutta
Vattang tesang nati panyapanaya.
vatang tesang nati panyapanai.
Okay, so we start off everything the same but in the locative case. So in this well expounded, this Dhamma that has been well expounded by me, which is clear, open, revealed, free of patchwork, then yete bhikkhu arahanto. So those monks who are arahats, then a number of epithets for the arahats, kinasava. So this is again, it's a bahubihi compound composed from kina, which is destroyed. So it's a past participle, meaning destroyed, finished, exhausted, and then asava, the the asavas. So the arhats are described as those whose asavas have been destroyed. Then vusita vanto. So this is a grammatical form. I think it's called a perfect participle. It's constructed from the past participle with the possessive pronoun vant. And here it has the meaning of those who have lived, the sense is those who have lived the holy life, those who have lived completely lived the brahmacharya, the holy life. Like often we get the expression vusitang brahmacharyang in many suttas. Let me just see if we could find it here. Yeah, here we have vusitang brahmacharyang. So brahmacharyang is the spiritual life, and vusitang is the past. Vusitang is the past participle of the verb vasati, meaning to live. So vusitang is having lived in the sense of having completed. So having completed the spiritual life. Okay, then next comes Katakaraniya. So kata is done, and karaniya is what should be done, what has to be done. And so they're joined together to form a compound describing the arhats as those who have done what had to be done, those who have done what should be done. And what should be done, according to the commentarial way of explanation, is to fully understand the noble truth of dukkha, to completely abandon the noble truth of the origin of dukkha, that is craving and defilements, to realize the cessation of dukkha, in other words, to realize nibbana, and to develop the Noble Eightfold Path. So that is what's karaniya, what should be done, and those who have done what should be done are the arhats. Okay, then we have another Bahubihi compound, Ohita Bara. So the word Ohita be the same as, oops. So Ohita is just a contraction of the AVA, and Hita is from the root Da, which means to put or to place. So Ohita is to, then the prefix ava gives a sense of down. So ohita is put down, to drop, to put, to drop. So dropped the burden, those who have dropped the burden. It's like all of us unenlightened people are carrying this heavy burden, which is the burden of the five aggregates. And the arhat is one who has ohita bara, dropped the burden, put down the burden. Then anupata sadatta. So anupata is reached or attained. And I've seen two renderings of sadatta. One takes it to be sad, to be the good or true, and atta to be goal. So those who have reached or attained the true goal. But the other explanation, which is probably more closer to the original sense, takes the D just to be a conjunct consonant a liaison consonant. And the sense here is sa, representing Sanskrit, swa, one's own, and atta is good. So in that case, sadatta is those who have achieved their own good, their personal good. Okay, then we have here a three-part Bahubihi compound, Parikina Bhava Sangyojana. So first, Parikina, which is actually almost the same in meaning as Kina here, just the same word with the prefix, Pari giving the sense of fullness, and so fully exhausted, fully destroyed. Then Bhava Sangyojana. Sangyojana are the fetters, and Bhava is existence, that is the samsaric existence. So those who have fully destroyed the fetters that bind one to samsaric existence. Then samad anya vimutta. So here, samad, this is a kind of a compound form of samma, meaning completely. And anya here is final knowledge. And it's probably grammatically originally an instrumental. But as commonly happens in Pali, that this instrumental gets truncated or shortened. So it becomes samad anya. Through correct or right knowledge, vimuta, liberated. In fact, it's possible, though uncertain, that this could have been originally a compound, liberated through final knowledge, or it could be two separate words. We don't know for sure. Okay, so now all of these words are describing the arahats, and then the demonstrative clause says te sang, for them, that is for the arahats, vatang. Vatang is, in Sanskrit, you could see the connection with English more easily. Sanskrit would be varta, and varta is connected etymologically to an English word. What is the English word? Varta.
Vortex?
Exactly. Very, very good. Who is that?
Sabina.
Very good. Somebody who's not even a native English speaker gets
Yeah.
correct. Yeah. Vortex. And so vortex is a circle of water that sucks everything down. So vata is the round, the cycle of birth and death, the cycle of repeated existence. So it's the vortex. And so for them, for the arhats, the vortex, let's say there is no, and this sounds for us English speakers a bit of an odd construction. So panyapanaya is the dative case of the feminine noun, panyapana, pointing out. So for them, there is not a round or a vortex for pointing out, but to rephrase it in maybe normal English, we would say that it's not possible for them, for the arhats, to point out the continuation of the vortex of birth and death. Let me see how Venerable Nyanamoli had it. Or maybe this was my revision. There is no future round for manifestation in the case of those monks who are arhats with taints destroyed and so on. And let me see if the commentary gives. Says anything helpful about this. It says that, okay, let me paste it in. We'll use a different font and dent. Okay, so the Majjhima commentary says, for them, the round has gone to the apanyati bhavam. That's the state of, you could say, non-description, non-designation. It has become indescribable, undesignatable. Okay, so now we'll just try to put it all together. So in this Dhamma that is well expounded by me and so on and so on, for those monks who are arhats with the taints, the asavas destroyed, who have lived the holy life, done what had to be done, put down the burden, who have achieved their own good, who have exhausted the fetters of existence, who are liberated through correct or right knowledge. For them, there is no, I would say there is no round to point out. Okay, do we have any questions on this?
Bhante, excuse me, but could you possibly move the text a bit to the left? On my screen, the last words of each line are cut off. Yeah, fine. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah. Okay, is this better?
Yes, fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
It is Evan Shakate Maya Dhamme, etc. A locative absolute or just a simple locative?
No, I wouldn't call this a locative absolute. The thing is that the arhats exist in this Dhamma that's taught by the Buddha. I think that's the sense. It's just a locative in the sense of location. Though also could even be taken as a locative absolute. No, but the way the commentary explains it, it says, yeah, the way the commentary explains that, not as a locative absolute, but it says such great keen asavas, that such a great kinasava arises in such a well-expounded teaching. Yeah, so I would say not to take it as a locative absolute, though grammatically it could work also. Okay, any other questions here? Okay, so the first paragraph deals with the arahats. Now we go to the next level. Okay, so here we don't have to read together the opening statement. So each time the Buddha repeats the same thing, then he'll continue. Yesang bhikkhunang panchorambhagiyani sangyojanani pahinani.
ये संग भिक्खूनंग पंच ओरम भागियानि संयोजनानि पहीनानि
Sabete opapatika
सब्बे ते ओपपातिका
tatta parinibhayino
तत् परिनिब्बायनो
anavatti dhamma tasma loka.
अनावत्ति धम्मा तस्मा लोका.
Okay, for which monks the five, then we have Orambhagya. That means Oram is what is near or close or lower, and Bhaga is a portion. And then it's turned, Orambhaga is turned into an adjective with the suffix iya, pertaining to, that which pertains to the lower portion. And it's describing Sangyojanani, the fetters. So these are the, it's simply translated, the five lower fetters, or the five fetters that pertain to the lower level. And these are the fetters of view of self, doubt, clinging to rules and observances, sensual desire, and ill will. So those five fetters, pahinani, have been abandoned. So we have yesang, the relative pronoun, for whom, and then it's completed by sabbe te, all of those, all of them are described as opapatika. And the word opapatika is a special word used in the Buddhist text to mean those who are reborn spontaneously. Yeah, it's a class. There are said to be 4 modes of rebirth. One is from the womb, another is from the eggs, The third is from moisture. And then the fourth is opapatika, those who are reborn spontaneously. And that would include beings in the various heavenly realms, and also, I guess, the beings in the hell realms. But these are certainly not the beings in the hell realms, but these are, because all of these are non-returners. And so they are of spontaneous birth. They're not born from parents. And it's said that they are reborn, that they attain final nirvana there. Somehow it's implied or understood that they are not reborn in the desire realm, but in the form realm or formless realm. And anavati dhamma tasma loka. So tasma loka, this is the ablative case, from that world. And then anavati dhamma is describing these opapatika. And anavati means not returning. Avati is coming back or returning. And so anavati is not returning, and Dhamma is of a nature. So of a nature not to return from that world. What's interesting and a little puzzling is that the sutta doesn't use here the word that would naturally be used, that what we naturally think of, and that is the word anagami, which is the name for this class of disciples. But that is what they are. So these are the anagamis. And sometimes it's thought that the anagamis are all reborn in the pure abodes. But it seems from what I've been able to find that that is not necessarily the case. What's all that one could say with certainty is that those who as human beings become anagamis are not reborn in the desire realm, either in the human realm or in the sense sphere heavens, but they're reborn either in the form realm or the formless realm in accordance with their level of samadhi. But in the form realm, there's a special section called the 5 pure abodes, which are reserved for anagamis, but it's not the case that all anagamis are reborn there. Okay, so we're going down. So we went from the highest level to the 3rd level. Now we come to the 2nd level. So again, all of this is repetitive. We just start with Yesang Bhikkhunam. So Yesang Bhikkhunam, Tini Sang. Maybe I should have asked, are there any questions here? Okay, then we go on. Yesang Bhikkhunam,
Yesan bhikkhunan
Tini Sangyojanani Pahinani,
tini sanyojanani pahinani
Raga Dosa Moha Tanu Bhuta,
rag dos moha tanubhuta
Sabete Sakadagamino,
sabbete sakadagamino
Sakideva Imang Lokang Agantva,
sakidev imang lokang agantva
Dukkha Santang Karisanti.
dukkha sa antang karissanti.
Okay, so now it says, for which monks 3 fetters have been abandoned. So these are the 3 initial fetters: the view of self, doubt, clinging to rules and observances. So those fetters have been abandoned, and raga, dosa, moha have become tanu bhuta. So tanu means thin, and bhuta is become. So they've become thinned out, or you could say diminished. So lust, hate, and delusion have been diminished or reduced, not yet eradicated. Okay, so that's the relative clause. So then the yesang gets completed by sabete. All of them are sakadagamino. So sakadagami means, sakad means once, and agami is coming back. So coming back once, and then if you don't get the idea from the name itself, the next phrase spells it out. Sakideva imang lokang agantva. So imang lokang, this world, agantva, having come back, sakideva, only once. They come back into the human realm, or could be the heavenly realm, just one more time, and then they will make an end of dukkha, that is the dukkha of the round of birth and death. So putting it all together, for those monks for whom 3 fetters have been abandoned, and for whom lust, hate, and delusion have been reduced or diminished, all of them are once returners, having come back to this world just once more, they will make an end of dukkha. So any questions here? Raga, dosa, moha, what kind of compound is this?
Duanda.
Right, very good. Yeah, it's a dvanda compound, which is just the simple compound of just sort of adding one item to another without any change in the grammatical relationship between the terms. And in this case, some dvandas become plural, other dvandas, the 2 or multiple terms, just end with a neuter singular. But this is the type that becomes plural. I don't remember the technical term for this type. Okay, going down now. So this is the second level of the once returner. Now we come to the first type of noble person, the first type of fruition attainer. So everything here is repeated down to Yesang Bhikkhunaṃ Tini Sangyojanani Pahinani
Ye sang bhikkhunan tini sanyojanani pahinani
Sabbe Te Sotapanna
sabbe te sotapanna
Avinipata Dhamma
avinipat dhamma
Niyata Sambodhi Parayana.
niyata sambodhi parayana.
Okay, so for those monks for whom 3 fetters have been abandoned, so they've abandoned the 3 lowest fetters, but they haven't yet significantly weakened lust, hate, and delusion beyond that involved in removing the 3 fetters. So all of those are sotapanna. So here the word sotapanna we translate as stream enterers. So it comes from the word sota, which means the current or stream of a river, plus apana, which in this case you could say has a sense of those who have entered the stream. And they are described as avinipata dhamma. So here dhamma has the meaning of being subject to, having the nature of, and vinipata, it's based on the verb patati, which means to fall. And nipatati would be like to fall down. And then it's just intensified by vinipatati, by the prefix v. I don't know if we ever have this verb vinipatati, but from such a verb, we would get the noun vinipata. So it's sometimes translated as the downfall. Let's see what Nyanamoli used. Venerable Nyanamoli used perdition, which I have to say, it doesn't quite work. Damnation, inferno, purgatory, maybe. But anyway, it's taken to be a term for the three lower realms of existence, the hells, the animal realm, and the realm of the pretas, or hungry ghosts. And so the stream enterers are avinipata dhamma. So they are of a nature not to fall to fall down into the lower realms. And now more recently I've been using no longer subject to the lower realms. So all those are stream enterers, not subject to the lower realms. And then they're said to be niyata. Niyata means fixed in destiny, in the sense that it's not that fixed in destiny in the sense that everything that's happens in the future is already predetermined, but rather they're fixed in destiny in that they are bound to reach final liberation in a maximum of 7 more lives. And then there's said to be some bodhi parayana. So the word parayana here means something like the destination. And their destination is some bodhi, that's full enlightenment. Okay, so these monks, okay, so for those for whom the 3 fetters have been abandoned, those are all stream winners or stream enterers who are no longer subject to the downfall, who are fixed in destiny, and who are destined for enlightenment. So with this much, we've covered those who attain the 4 fruits. But now this sutta adds 2 more paragraphs, or 2 more descriptions. Okay, so again, it starts off everything the same. Then we have something new. Yete bhikkhu dhammanusarino
Ye te bhikkhu dhammanusarino
sadanusarino
saddhanusarino
sabbe te sambodhi parayana.
sabbe te sambodhi parayana.
Okay, so those monks who are, now we come across 2 terms which are different in meaning, and they're describing 2 different types of persons who have entered upon the path, the irreversible path, but haven't yet realized the fruit of stream entry. So one is called the Dham Anusari, and the other is called the Sadanusari. And of both of them, it's said, so we could say that the Dhammanusari is one Anusari, the word Anusari. Comes from the prefix anu, along with, and sari is from the verb sarati, which means to run or to move. And so the Dhammanusari is one who moves along with the Dhamma, and the Sadanusari is one who moves along with faith. And I'll take a passage from another sutta which shows the distinction of these 2. But it's said that all of these such monks are Sambodhi Parayana. They all have enlightenment as their destination. What's interesting, it doesn't say that they are avinipata Dhamma or niyata. So it seems that would have to be the case, because from the sutta that I'm going to take, we'll see that they cannot pass away without reaching the fruit of stream entry. Let me find that sutta, take it now. It's Samyutta Nikaya, chapter 25. Okay, so it starts off by saying that the I is impermanent, viparinami is changing, anyata bhavi, becoming different or other. And so the same is said about the ear, nose, tongue, body, and the mano, the mind. So this, in other words, it's the 6 sense faculties. They're impermanent, changing, becoming other. Okay, then the text says, one who evang sadahiti adimuchati, one who, we say, has faith in these dhammas, in these things, and adimuchati, and who is convinced about them. Maybe we could render adimuchati in that way, has a conviction about them. This one is called the sadhanusari, the one who follows along by faith. And then it said, Okanto samata niyamang. Okanto is entered, and what this one is entered is a difficult term to translate. Samata niyama. Niyama is like a fixed course, and samata is rightness, probably referring to sama, the rightness of each of the 8 noble path factors. So they've entered upon the fixed course of rightness. Then sapurisa booming okanto, they've entered the stage of the good persons, but more than good persons, these are like, you could say, the saintly persons. Or the whole, and maybe the stage of the holy persons. And viti vato putujana booming, that they've overcome or transcended the stage of worldlings. So this person is no longer a worldling and has become a sapurisa, one of the community of the holy ones, unable, ababo tankamankatum, unable to do that deed, having done which deed, one might upapajaya, one might be reborn in hell or in the animal realm or in the sphere of the pretas, the hungry ghosts. So the person unable to do any karma that might lead to rebirth into the bad destinations, and ababo is incapable or unable to kalankatung, to pass away, so long as the fruit of stream entry has not been realized. In other words, they have to realize the fruit of stream entry before they die. And the differentiating factor here is indicated by this term, by this phrase, evang sadahati adi muchati. They have faith in these teachings and conviction about them. So that is what makes them a sadhanusari, one who follows along through faith. But then we have the other type of disciple, one for whom these dhammas, these teachings or principles, and this is difficult to translate. Evang panyaya mataso nijanang kamanti. These teachings, we could say, are agreeable to their reflection to some extent through wisdom. Or through wisdom, these principles are agreeable to their reflection to some extent. So this one is called a Dhammanusari. So we could say that the distinguishing factor is the Dhammanusari relies on panya, wisdom, whereas the Sadhanusari relies on saddha, faith. But for the rest of the description is the same, that he's entered upon the fixed course of rightness, entered the plane of the good persons, overcome the plane of the worldlings, unable to do any deed, because of which they might be reborn in hell, the animal realm, or the sphere of ghosts, and unable to pass away without having realized the fruit of stream entry. And then it says, one who evang pajanati, evang pasati, one who thus knows and thus sees these dhammas, this one is called a stream enterer who is no longer subject to the downfall, who is fixed in destiny with enlightenment as destination. Okay, so that is the distinction of Dhammanusari and Sadhanusari. Okay, so any questions about the Pali? This isn't the time for doctrinal questions. Any?
Bhante,
Yeah,
may I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
About the Avinipata Dhamma.
yeah.
How do we know from that compound that the falling down relates to these realms and is not just sort of a not backsliding? In other words, sort of synonymous with niyata.
Good question. I'm just curious whether there might be a comment on it, because I've always just gone along and assumed that that is the case. But let's just see. Oh, I think I know some passage. Okay, which clarifies that. Let me think if I could find where it is. Yeah, often one finds just Mm. Okay, I know what to do. Okay, this should do it. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. Okay, I'll copy and paste. Yeah, this is from the, we find it in various places, but you find it in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, in the section where the Buddha is speaking about the mirror of Dhamma, how a disciple can determine that they are a stream enterer. So this, when the disciple has certain characteristics, they could know of themselves that kina nirayomhi, that I am finished with the hells, kina tirachana yoni, that I'm finished with the animal realm, kina peti visayo, I'm finished with the realm of the pretas, then kina apaya dugati vini pato. So you see, we have three terms used here, roughly as synonyms. So kina is finished with, then we have apaya, the state of misery, dugati, the bad destinations, and vinipata, the downfall. So they're used together to indicate pretty much the same thing: the hells, the animal realm, the sphere of pretas. Then he goes on, I am a stream enterer, no longer subject to the downfall of fixed in destiny, destined for enlightenment.
I see. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, then we have one more statement in the sutta. Again, the opening passage is the same. And then he says, and this becomes a bit of a controversial passage, Yesang mai saddha matang pema matang
Yesan mai saddha mattan, pema mattan,
sabete saga parayana.
sabbe te sag parayana.
So he says, those for whom in relation to me, towards me, there is saddha matang. So saddha is faith, and matang has various nuances. One of the nuances is only or merely. It's the same word as we have in Sanskrit. Matra. So you know we have the the Vijñapti Matra school of Buddhism, mere representation. Chitta Matra, mind only school. So it's the same word. So merely or only faith, and pema is devotion. So those who have merely faith in me and merely devotion towards me, all of those are Saga Parayana. All of those have heaven as their destination. So it sets off a bit, even the commentator had a little bit apparently of some hesitancy over this. I'm just trying to find the way the commentary explains it. It says, by this, those for whom there is no Aryan attainment, but who have merely faith and merely devotion towards the Tathagata, it says those are persons, let me copy and paste. It says, though, what is it? Those intended here are persons who are practitioners of insight, vipassaka pugala, for of monks who are practicing insight, seated, having established insight in such a way, one has faith in the Buddha, and for one, faith arises in the Buddha, and, oh, I'm sorry. You say one time faith arises towards the Buddha, one time affection arises, and through that faith and through that affection or devotion, they are as if they've taken, it's as if they have been taken by the hand and placed in heaven. And so it is said that they are fixed in destiny. And then it says that the ancient elders, the ancient commentators, say that what's intended here, that the monk who's intended here is what is called the Chula Sotapanna. This means the minor stream enterer. And this means one who's not literally or actually a stream enterer, but one who has reached a particular stage of insight knowledge, which is called the stage of Kankavitarana. Yeah, the stage of insight knowledge called Kankavitarana, the overcoming of doubt. Yeah, so it's just the way the commentary explains. That's what's meant here is not just somebody who has mere ordinary devotion and faith in the Buddha, but the practitioner who has undertaken the practice of insight and has reached certain stages of insight knowledge, on account of which there arises faith and devotion towards the Buddha. Okay, so any questions about this? I mean, from a grammatical point of view. Okay, if there's no questions,
Bante,
yeah, please.
yes, well, this is not about grammar. This is about like, it seems that Sada matters most of all. And whether to know the Dhamma is less important.
Wait, say again, I didn't quite catch.
Well, it seems to me that Sada, the faith, is the most important. And whether to know the Dhamma is not that, is lesser. That doesn't mean this way.
You mean for this person?
Yeah, for the less, the
For the last
kind-
one?
Yeah,
I guess so. I guess that's the case.
okay.
But
Thank you.
yeah, but the way the commentary explains it, or quoting the ancient elders, implies that there's some insight knowledge has arisen. So it's not just merely the faith and devotion of an ordinary devotee, but it's the faith and devotion that arise based on the actual experience of insight starting to arise.
I see.
That's the way that's the way the ancient commentators explain it. But if you just take the sutta on face value, it's saying that those who have simply faith and simply devotion towards the Buddha are all have heaven as their destination. Of course, they would have to, in addition to faith and devotion, at least have a strong basis of sila by observing the 5 precepts and 10 ways of wholesome action, and probably some other, and also practice dana or generosity, and have other meritorious qualities. Okay, if there's no questions, then maybe we'll take a 7-minute break now from 2:10 to 2:17. Then we will come to the Ratana Sutta of the Sutta Nipata. Let me pause on the recording. Okay, so far we've been going through the Ratana Sutta. This is the first sutta in the second chapter of the Sutta Nipata. And so far we've done the verses on the Buddha and the 2 verses on the Dhamma. Now we come to the verses on the Sangha, starting with verse 227. Oops. And this is in the Tristubhimita, which usually has 11 syllables per line. So, ye pugala atta satang pasatta.
Ye puggala at satang pasattha.
Chatari etani yugani hunti.
Chattari etani yugani honti.
Te dakineya sugatasa savaka.
Te dakhineya sugatassa savaka.
Etesu dinani mahapalani.
Etesu dinnani mahaphalani.
Idampi sange ratanang panitang.
Idampi sanghe ratnang panitang.
Etena sachena suwati hotu.
Etena sachena sovatti hotu.
Okay, so ye pugala, those persons, and the persons in the plural, mentioned in the plural, are atta, 8. So those 8 persons, and then they are said to be satang pasatta. Yes, pasatta is a past participle meaning praised. And what is satang here? Anybody?
It has a sense of always being praised.
No, that I think is satatang.
It's genitive plural of
Yeah.
present participle.
Yeah, and what is the meaning?
Bante, that's from the old notes. But, it's a by the good. But in Pali, it's genitive, dative. So
Okay, but you
in
have
Pali,
all.
we need to use genitive, but in English, we have to render it as instrumental.
Okay, but you're reading from old notes.
No, I'm not reading, but
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what it is. See, there's the word santa, which originally it's the present participle of the verb ati, which means to be. So santa would be a present participle, the original sense being, existing, but some reason it takes on another sense of being the good ones. And so Satsang is the present participle genitive plural of the good ones, but grammatically it's a genitive case, but in old Pali, the genitive is sometimes used in a role that in later Pali and in English we would assign to the instrumental, by the good. So here we have the 8 persons praised by the good. And I think the commentary probably explains the good to be Buddhas, Pacceka Buddhas, and Savaka Arahats. So those are the good who praise the 8 persons. And the 8 persons are said to be Chattari Etani Yugani Honti. So Etani, these are, then we have Chattari Yugani. The word yuga means a pair. So here we have 4 pairs. So these become 4 pairs, 8 persons, 4 pairs. And these are the ones we refer to in the verse in praise of the Sangha. We say, Yadi Dang Chattari Purisa Yugani Atta Purisa Pugala Esa Bhagavato Savaka Sango. So we have the 4 fruition attainers, Arhat, non-returner, once returner, stream enterer, and then the 4 who are on the paths to the respective fruitions. So those are the 8, and they're grouped into 4 pairs by way of path practitioner and fruit attainer. So these 8 persons forming 4 pairs, te dakineya sugatasa savaka. So those are the disciples of the Sukata. Sukata is the well-gone one, referring to the Buddha. And they're said to be dakineya, which means worthy of offerings. It's from dakina. Dakina originally was the offering that people would make. Whoops. Dakina. The offerings that people would make to the Brahmins for performing services. But then it comes to take on a broader sense of offerings. And so those disciples of the Buddha, worthy of offerings, these are the disciples of the Buddha, worthy of offerings. And then a tesu dinani mahapalani. So dinani is the past participle of deity, to give. So things that are given, in English we say to them, but in Pali, the recipient of the gift, sometimes it comes in the locative. What is given to them, mahapalani, is of great fruit. So it's referring here to the principle that gifts create merit that brings fruits, and the merit generated by a gift is partially determined by the virtue or worthiness of the recipient. So those who are most worthy of gifts are the 8 noble persons and 4 pairs. And so gifts that are given to them are of great fruit. They generate great amount of merit. And so this is the excellent jewel in the Sangha. Then by this truth, may there be suwati. Suwati is good fortune or success. Okay, so as for those 8 persons praised by the good. These form 4 pairs. These are the worthy disciples of the Sugata, the fortunate one. What is given to them is of great fruit. This too is the excellent jewel in the Sangha. By this truth, may there be success or good fortune. So, any questions?
Bante, your English is safety for Suvati.
Yeah, there it has various sort of nuances. Safety, security. It's just from ati, what is, plus the prefix su, meaning good. So everything that is considered desirable comes under suwati. Prosperity, peace, good fortune, safety, security. Okay, shall we go? Any other questions? Okay, then we go to the next verse. Ye supayuta manasa delhena
ये सुपयुक्ता मनसा दढ़ेन
ni kamino gotama sasanam hi
निकामिनो गौतम शासन मही
te pati pata amatang vigaya
ते पतिपत्ता अमतंग विगहेय
lada muda nibuting bunjamana
लद्दा मुदा निबुतिंग भुंजमाना
idampi sange ratanang panitang
इदम्पि संघे रत्नं पणीतं
etena sachena swati hotu.
एतेन सच्चेन सवत्थि होतु.
Okay, so again, it's referring to the disciples. And so we have those who supayuta. So payuta means it's based on the verb. I guess the verb would be payunjati. Which would mean to strive. And from this we get the noun payoga, striving, endeavor. Okay, so they've strived, and then it has the prefix payuta, strive, those who have strived, and su gives the intensification, those who have strived well, or strived diligently. Then manasa delhena. So manasa, what is manasa? Anybody?
Instrumental.
Yeah. How
Awesome.
does it come to be an instrumental ending in ah?
It's one of those Vedic words.
Yeah,
Vedic words. So it's manas.
right. So it's manas. So it's with the mind, and then the mind is described as dalhena. So this is the instrumental of dalha, which means firm. So those who have strived thoroughly with a firm mind, and then they're described as nikamino, which is the absence of, we have the word kama, which means, one of the meanings, desire. And then without desire is near kama. So the prefix near sometimes gives a sense of exclusion. And then the R is assimilated to the following K. So nikama is without desire, and one who is without desire is nikamin. So one who is desireless. But this is the plural, so it becomes nikamino. So who are desireless in Gautama, Sas, and Amhi. So Gautama, of course, is the Buddha's family name, and Sasana is the teaching. So who are desireless in Gautama's teaching. And then te pati pata amatang vigaya. So pati pata is, we have the noun pati, which means attainment. Yeah, this is the same as the Sanskrit. Prapti, which becomes in Pali. Pati. And then pata is the past participle of the verb based on this, papunati. So those who have attained, so literally, those who have attained attainment. And by the state of attainment, I just want to see what the commentary says. It says the attainment, that's a designation for the fruit of arhatship. And so those who have attained that attainment, the fruit of arhatship. And then we have amatang vigaya. So amatang is deathless. And then vigaya, interesting word. Yeah, take the commentarial explanation. Yeah, first grammatically, it's an absolutive. And one of the things that happens in some absolutives that end with ya, when the stem ends in an H, the Y and the H undergo an inversion. This just seems to have been a feature of speech that got absorbed into the literature. And so there's some question, what verb is this based on? Because vigaiha, I think, can be the past participle of two verbs, which are very different in meaning. One is viganhati, an intensification of ganhati, which means to grasp. But that is not the verb that's intended here. Rather, the verb intended is vigahati, which means to immerse oneself in, to plunge into. And so vigaiha is having plunged into, having become immersed in. And in this case, it's amatang, the deathless. So these, having reached the attainment, having plunged into the deathless, then we have lada muda nibuting bunjamana. Yeah, the word muda is an indeclinable, meaning free of charge, no price to pay. Yeah, the commentary explains that there's no payment, even by a penny. It's completely without any payment. Yeah, the word vyaya, or also the alternative form, vyayang, can have the meaning of vanishing. I think that's the original sense, is vanishing or disappearing. But then when people spend money on things, then their wealth disappears. And so the word vyaya or byaya comes to mean expenditure, loss due to expenses. But in the case of this attainment, it's abhyayena. There's no expense involved at all, but not even a penny. Kakanika is the ancient Indian equivalent of like a penny. And then lada is glosed by the commentary labitva as an absolutive, having gained, having obtained. And then nibuting means like the perfect peace, the state of quiescence. And bunjamana is the present participle meaning enjoying. And so putting it together, we have those who have strived with a firm mind, who are desireless in Gautama's teaching. These, having attained the attainment, having plunged into the deathless, are enjoying this perfect peace, having gained it for free, free of charge. This too is the excellent gem in the Sangha. By this truth, may there be safety, well-being, prosperity, and so on. Okay, so any questions here?
Bhante, why
Yeah.
can we take lada as past participle plural? Why do we have to follow commentary? I mean, does it work as a
I think it would work
participle
actually.
plural?
It would work as a past participle too.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
yeah. You could say that those who have gained the nibbuti, the perfect peace, enjoying the perfect peace, which they have gained free of charge. You could take it as I think as a past participle too.
okay, thank you. Bhante, the whole stanza doesn't have a main verb at all.
Maybe a verb not necessary. We get the sense. Yeah, I think, yeah, even without the main verb, maybe bunjamana, though it's a present participle, you would say they are enjoying the peace that they have gained free of charge. We just put an R in there and then it works. Okay, any other questions? Okay, then we come to the next verse. Yatinda kilo pataving sito siya
Yathind kilo patving sitosya.
chatubi vatehi asampakampyo
Chatubhivate asampakampyo.
tatupamangsa purisang vadami.
Tatupamang sapurasang vadami.
Yo Arya Sachani Avecha Pasati
Yo arya sachani avech pasati.
Idampi Sange Ratanang Panitang
Idampi sanghe ratnang panitang.
Etena Sachena Sawati Hotu.
Etena sachena savati hotu.
Do they use the word in the kilo in India today? Does it mean anything?
Oh, never heard of this word.
Never really. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, in ancient India, it seems that this was a post that they would put outside, or maybe it's inside the city. It would make sense to put it inside for holding the door in place when they open the door. Yeah, the commentary, let's see, it says Nagaradvara. It says this, the Indakila, this is a designation for a post or pillar made of hard wood, solid wood, which what they do is they dig up the earth down to a depth of 8 or 10 yards, and then they plant this post in the earth in the area of the threshold of the gate to the village, for the purpose of or a city, for the purpose of restraining or holding open the door of the city. I don't quite have a mental image of how it works. But anyway, it's a post or pillar which is planted in the earth so that it remains very firm and steady. And so just as this Indakila planted in the earth, it would be a sampakumpio, that means unshakable by the 4 winds, winds coming from the 4 directions. And then tatupamang. So tatupamang, upama is the simile. So by such a simile, I speak of the sappurisa. This is the good person, the saintly person, who Arya Sachani Avecha Pasati, who sees the noble truths. Avecha means unshakably or without any wavering, usually understood to mean on the basis of experience. It's a past participle. I'm sorry, it's a absolutive of the verb aveti, from ava plus ati, which means almost literally to undergo. To undergo something is to experience it. And so just as an Indakila, an Indra's pillar, might be planted in the earth and would be unshakable by the 4 winds, winds coming from the 4 directions. By such a simile, I speak of the good person, the noble person, who sees the noble truths having experienced them himself. This too is the excellent gem in the Sangha. By this truth, may there be safety or prosperity. Whoops. So any questions here?
Bhante, is the upamang accusative?
Actually, tat upamang, I should have explained. Together, this is forming a compound. I guess we would call this a bahubihi compound made of an adverb that's tatta plus a noun, upama. And so it's the compound is describing sappurisa. So I speak of the sappurisa as similar to that, as thus similar. Yeah, so it's a compound in agreement with sappurisa. Okay, any other question? what's interesting is that this verse is referring to a sutta that occurs in the Samyutta Nikaya in the, I think it's in this, where in the Samyutta Nikaya? Maybe in the Satya Samyutta? Yeah, so the commentary quotes that sutta. It says, just as there might be a pillar of iron or an Indra pillar planted deep in the earth, there would be unmovable, unshakable. So even if a strong wind should come from the east, it would not be able to shake it or to budge it or make it move. Similarly, a wind might come from the west, from the south, from the north. It would not be able to make it move. What is the reason for that? Because that pillar has been planted deeply into the ground, and its base is very deep. So in the same way, those ascetics or Brahmins who understand as it really is the Four Noble Truths, if they do not look up to the face of another ascetic or Brahmin thinking, does this one know? Does this one see? Why is that? Because they themselves have thoroughly seen the Four Noble Truths. Okay, so now we go to the next verse, 230. Ye Arya Sachani Vibhavayanti
ये अर्य सच्चानि विभावयन्ति
Gambira Panyena Sudesitani
गम्भीरपयेन सुदेशितानि
Kinchapi Te Honti Pusang Pamata
किंचापि ते हुन्ति भुसं पमत्ता
Nate Bhavam Attamam Adayanti.
न ते भवं अर्थममं आदयन्ति
Yeah. Idampi Sange Ratanang Panitang
इदम्पि संघे रत्नं पणितं
Etena Sachena Suwati Hotu.
एतेन सच्चेन सुवत्ति होतु.
Okay, so we have the opening pronoun ye, those who, and then we have an unusual verb for this. Seems maybe the verb indicates a slightly later period than the oldest stratum of the suttas. The bhavayanti, or this would be, could also have been represented vibhavanti, which takes on the meaning to realize, to understand. And the commentary, I'll just see how the commentary explains it. Of course, it's from vibhava, with intensification, or strengthening, to get vibhavati. And the commentary explains vibhavayanti, and they say the meaning is that they make evident or clear to themselves. They make them clear and evident to themselves, having dispelled the darkness of the defilements that cover up the truths with the obasa, with the radiance of panyobasa, with the radiance of wisdom. So with the radiance of wisdom, they make evident or clear to themselves these truths, the noble truths, having dispelled the darkness of defilements that conceal the noble truths. So vibhavanti, we could say to illuminate. How did I render it? I have cognized, but maybe there are better words. Those who, you could just say realize. Those who have realized the noble truths, which are sudesitani, they're well taught by Gambhira Panyena. What is Gambhira Panyena?
Deep wisdom, Bhante.
What is it referring to? You have to look at the ending.
Don't know.
You got the words right, but you have to get the reference correct.
Don't know.
Anybody want to try?
Mhm.
Buddha.
Who said that?
It's me, Bante. 不会.
Yeah. And can you explain how do we know that it's referring to Buddha?
Mm.
There's a big hint there in the word itself. I'll give you a hint, then you have to explain it. If we have panya referring to wisdom, what gender is it?
Oh, it should be feminine. So this one is a bahubihi.
And what gender is this word?
It's a masculine
Yeah. And what case?
instrumental.
Yeah. So how would we understand it? Gambhira Panyena.
By one whose wisdom is deep.
Yeah, but one of deep wisdom. Yeah. So if it were deep wisdom would be Gambhira Panya.
Panyaya.
And then if it were by deep wisdom, it would be Gambhira Panyaya. But it wouldn't make sense for the noble truths to be well taught by deep wisdom, because wisdom doesn't teach anything. Wisdom knows something. And so Gambhira Panyena, it's a bahubihi with an adjective, Gambhira deep, and the noun Panya, wisdom, but then turned into the masculine singular, referring to the Buddha as one who has deep wisdom. So those who realize the noble truths well taught by the one of deep wisdom, in other words, by the Buddha, and then continuing, Kinchapi te honti busang pamata. So kinchapi means although they are, and then pamata means negligent or heedless. Busang, usually it means strong or fierce. I'm just trying to see how it's. Oh, I see what the commentary says. That even if they attain a position that sort of normally leads to heedlessness, such as that of a deva, that's a deity, raja or a kingship, or the position of a Chakravati Raja, the whale-turning king, even then, because they have the knowledge of the path of stream entry, they don't become negligent. I'm sorry, they don't well, it's a rather complicated sentence, but they don't take an eighth existence. Okay, so even though they are extremely heedless or negligent, still they do not take, that's adiyanti. Uttamang is an eighth. It's based on utta meaning eight, and then the ordinal number is uttama, eighth, and then it's describing bhavang, existence. So even though they are, we say, extremely heedless, after they attain stream entry, they might give up their practice, not practice very diligently, but at some point before they reach their eighth existence, they'll put forward the full effort and then reach liberation. So they don't take the eighth existence. This too is a excellent gem in the Sangha. By this truth, may there be suwati, well-being, safety, security, and so on. So any questions here, grammatically?
Bante, you just explained the usage of Vibayanti indicates this verse is relatively late.
I wouldn't say late, but a bit later, that maybe a little bit later than the oldest strata of the Nikayas. That's just my speculation. We're gonna have to see, because I don't recall seeing this verb used in that sense elsewhere. But I might be wrong. I have to do a search for it. But there's something else that indicates a little bit lateness in the next verse. Should we try to get the next verse in? Okay, we'll try. Okay, 231. Sahavasa dasana sampadaya
Sahavasya dasan sampadaye
tayasu dhamma jahita bhavanti
tayasu dhamma jahita bhavanti
sakayaditi vichikichitancha.
sakaya ditti vichikichitanche.
Yeah, maybe leave this verse for next time. I say it's a bit long and some things to be explained in it. Yeah, so and I see it just turned to 3 o'clock. Okay, so next time we'll try to finish the Ratana Sutta. So I'll leave a little extra time for the Ratana Sutta. Okay, so that should do it for today. Any questions on anything covered so far? Okay, so thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, Bante.
Thank you, Bante.
Thank you, Bante.
Sadhu,
Thank
You,
you.
Bante.
Okay.
Thank you,
Take
Bante.
care, Bante.
Okay,
Thank you, Bante.
okay. So we'll continue next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bante.
Okay,
Thank you, Bante.
okay.